Okay, so in addition to oils that we're not going to be able to grow in our backyards, we're not going to be able to get the sugars that we need out of our backyards either. There are a couple of things you can look at. You can look at stevia or stevia, whichever way you want to pronounce it. It's very difficult to grow. It's a persnickety kind of a plant. It's difficult to grow from seed. You're going to have to probably get it from a nursery. And you're also going to have to make sure that it's sweet stevia, because a lot of it's not. You can grow sugar beets, and I strongly suggest you get some sugar beet seeds. I will put a link on my blog where you can get sugar beet seeds, because it's virtually impossible. When I did my first search on this, it just wasn't available. Monsanto holds the market on about 90% of the sugar beets in this country. That's a lot. And they're mass producing GMO seed, which is not going to do any of us any good, except maybe Monsanto for a short period of time. For the rest of us, forget about it. I suggest that you go to my site, get the source, and order sugar beet seed. Make sure you've got it. You can also grow cane sugar if you have a source for that. I have never grown cane sugar, so I couldn't tell you what that's about. I'm sure you can research it and find out what you need to know online. Another source of sugar is fruit. A couple of grapevines in the backyard will stay for a very long period of time, years and years and years, will produce for years and years and years, grow like a weed, and in most climates. And as we all know, they're sweet. They're sweet, and you can dehydrate them and store them for long periods of time as raisins. So make sure that you have some kind of grapevine that you've got started. Take a couple years to start producing in mass, but get it started. That's the most important thing here, is get it started. In the meantime, stock up. If you don't have the availability, the space to grow sugar beets and so forth, buy sugar. Store sugar. It's important. The third area of things that you need to think about having that you're not going to be able to grow in your yard, and this I already touched on with corn, which is the impracticality of it and sheer space requirements. Any kind of grain. You're not going to be able to grow rice in your backyard. You're not going to be able to grow wheat in your backyard. Oh, you could. You could. It just wouldn't be productive. You take a lot of space, a lot of energy, and for very little product. So think about storing grains. This will all play out eventually. We will find out how these things will be manipulated so that, that we have these available to us. But until that gap is filled, store up these things. Save some of these things and have them available for your family until it all plays out. I think we're all familiar with gardening to one degree or another. At some point, we all put a seed in the ground and watched it grow. We're probably fascinated by it. And it's a good thing. It's a good experience. But we're also probably quite familiar with chic gardens. Growing a couple tomato plants, perhaps some carrots, maybe some cucumbers and some radishes. But that's not going to cut it in today's backyard gardening. We need to know what to plant that will feed us, that will provide calories, that will store throughout the year, that we can either can or dehydrate or store in root cellars. These are the foods that we need. The sustainable foods are what we need to know how to grow, not salads. Anybody can grow a salad, but I'm guaranteeing you this, a month after you harvest, you're going to be hungry again. So think about what you can put into the ground that will benefit you, that you can store. Learn how to store it. Aside from trying to figure out what you want to grow, we've already talked about what you can't grow and what you're going to have to rely on other people to provide for you. Figure out how you're going to store the food that you grow. You can can it, you can dehydrate it, you can keep it in root cellars for a season, and it'll all work out well. Just make sure you know how to do those, that you have those skills available to you before you need them. I'm going to end this video with an invitation to dialogue. If you have videos covering this topic, please send them to me. I'll be happy to put them in my favorites. The more information we all have, the better. In the meantime, for our families, for our neighbors, for our friends, for our communities, preservation